Hello everyone.
Vijay is joining in as well, right? From
Hello.
Turner.
Hello everyone. This side Karan from CI. We are live, sir.
All
So
right.
yeah. So we welcome you all for the CI Summit Epic,
Yeah.
the session of kids content, original content, or India stories on the global stage. We have with us Mr. P. Jayakumar, CEO Toons Media Group, Mr. Ashish Kulkarni, founder and CEO Purnayog Art Vision, Mr. Devdatta Deportnes, he is SVP Revenue and Corporate Strategy, Cosmos Maya, Mr. Munjal Shroff, Director and CEO Graffiti, Mr. Rajiv Chilaka, founder and CEO Green Gold Animation, and Mr. Tejunidhi Bandare from Reliance Animation CEO. Over to you, sir. Mr.
Thank
Jayakumar,
you. Thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. I'm Jayakumar, the CEO of Toons Media Group, and it's my honor to be the moderator of this panel discussion. I sincerely thank the CII Summit FX team for giving us this platform and the opportunity. Before I introduce our esteemed panelists, let me introduce our topic of discussion. Today, we will be discussing kids content, original content, India stories on the global stage. Indian broadcasting has come a long way in the last 2 decades. The original content on these channels has also witnessed a steady incremental transformation, with producers and creators finding innovative ways to make homegrown content stand on par with overseas ones that were made at much higher cost. With the advent of new technologies, platforms, production methodologies, etc., the consumer can expect a lot more. In short, we would be hearing from industry veterans on what it takes for original IP to take wing and how we can maintain the momentum we have gained. It's my great pleasure to introduce the panelists today. These are all stalwarts who know the inside out of this industry. And I'm certain that we would all be benefiting from the insights today. First, I would like to introduce Mr. Ashish Kulkarni, my friend and guru. He's also the chairman of FICCI AVGC Forum and founder and CEO of Punaryug Art Vision. We are also joined by Mr. Devdatta Deportnes, Senior Vice President, Revenue and Corporate Strategy, Cosmos Maya. Mr. Munjal Shroff, Director and COO, Graffiti. Rajiv Chilaka, again, he doesn't need any introduction to the Indian animation industry, founder and CEO of Green Gold Animation. And Mr. Tejunidhi Bandare, COO, Reliance Animation. Thank you all guys very much for joining us today for this panel discussion. Let me, ask this first question. I think it would be good to start with the journey so far and its highlights. It would be interesting to hear briefly from each of you about some of the key aspects that you have witnessed undergo a change over the years in the Indian AVG sector, and how have your companies benefited from these market changes. We will start with Ashish ji and then move around the panelist. Ashish ji.
Thank you very much, Jayakumar. Thanks, CI, for setting this up. In fact, we are missing Biren today, but a wonderful panel to be with. I always love to be with all the people from this fraternity. I think some of the key things that have happened to us in this industry while we were doing it for the last 2 decades plus is primarily, getting probably best of the friends that I could get in my lifetime. And I think nothing better than that can happen to anyone because as we build the industry, as we build the ecosystem, unless and until you have like-minded people, nothing can work. And even, as the structures in different countries goes on, India was very uniquely positioned because we have these small hubs of media and entertainment in every state, in every language. And as a result, even animation industry, the visual effects and the gaming industry was also growing up in different clusters. Nevertheless, the people in the industry went from one project to another. I would say even one job to another job, jumping cities. I think that was a very unique feature for me to understand, because the multicultural aspect and the diversity came into creativity in this industry purely because, even if I go to Toons in Trivandrum, I see people from in the northeastern region, Punjab, Haryana, Maharashtra, you name the state, yeah, from Andhra, Karnataka, Goa, all the states. And I think that's something which brings a lot to the industry in understanding, the cultural aspect, the creative aspect. And people actually brought in the flavors when we created content in India. If I didn't have a guy called Armugam or Vimal Nathan, or for that matter, Ratan Bagul from Maharashtra. Armugam and Vimal came from Chennai, and we had a lot of other guys. Hari came from Kerala, and Vara Prasad and many other people came from Andhra Pradesh. Unless and until they brought in those, unique colors, unique designs, and unique understanding of creating characters, giving music, giving those nuances to the shows that we were creating, the shows wouldn't have become so good and unique in that sense. While people talk about what America is doing, what Canada is doing, what Japan is doing, what Korea is doing, we were under the complete shadows of the ITES. That's how the industry really started during the dot-com. Although the dot-com burst happened, but we stayed very strong and firm to grow this industry. And I think being a part of STPI really helped us in the initial years, because most of us were delivering shows for the international studios. And when we started creating Indian original IPs, the learnings were that there were agendas of various networks and a definite structure that they would like to follow, while the creative guys in India wanted to break open and tell wonderful stories, and they were always inspired by the international content. And everybody thought that we could be able to tell those stories in that format. But actually, the constraint was definitely the budgets that India could provide, because the agenda of most of the networks was to create inward-looking content and not outward-looking content. And I believe the breakthrough has come only after 15 years of our venture into creating original Indian content. And that's breakthrough has come through the OTT, because OTT would look at a little higher budget, a better quality, and outward looking content. And I think while the capabilities of Indian creators and the Indian studios undoubtedly have huge potential and to compete at a much better pricing world over for creating original content, because the kind of content we create, the quality we create in the kind of given budgets, nowhere in the world in that budget animation content gets created. So I think as a practice, I'm very happy that we went through this, kind of a journey and a manthan that our creators got used to delivering right grammar of animation, right grammar of visual effects. And even in the case of gaming studios, it is similar. But we are poised as we deliver international projects in services. We deliver the great quality in the best possible price. While we create the Indian content, we actually create that in the measured price, which is unparalleled for creations anywhere in the world. I think the agenda for distribution is the key. And as I can very proudly say, the way is carved by Mighty Little Beam to really see how Indian content on the global platform would do. Rajiv will talk more about it. But I feel extremely happy when these brands have been created, Little Singham, Golmaal Junior, then we have Shiva, and we have Pakadam Pakrai, and many, many products. The kids in India have grown on this, but I think that's the time that we get kids all over the globe get used to Indian colors, Indian flavor, and the Indian music, and Indian characters and their nuances.
Thank you, Ashish ji. Despite that conflicting agendas of network and aspirations of our creative community and the constraints in the budget, I think the journey still is, very, I mean, we are all very proud. Yeah. Munchal, you can share your experience, the journey so far.
Right. Thanks, Jaya. Thank you for having me, and thank you, CIA, for setting this up. Yeah, I think it's been a very fascinating journey for all of us. As graffiti, we've been, part of the industry for over 25 years now. And, my own personal journey along with it is when I started out, we were predominantly doing TV commercials and creating brand communications, and those were the early days. And somewhere along the way, once the advent of the channels came in, particularly Cartoon Network, once they came in, and then obviously the others followed, we realized that there was an opportunity to kind of tell stories on a much larger canvas, and obviously when we were doing films in those days, predominantly it was 30-second TV commercials. If you got lucky, you did a short film of 4 or 5 minutes. But once the TV channels came in, I think we kind of got very excited, and I think very early on, we were very clear that we would want to focus on telling our own stories and taking our stories to the world. And I think that kind of set us thinking that, okay, how do we go about it? And I think we kind of looked at it two ways. One is, obviously look at stories that we want to tell, number one, and then look at who are the best players in the market today internationally who aspire us to do good work, and see if we can work with them. So when among the early days, obviously one of our very first shows that we did was Jai Bole To Jadoo with Nickelodeon, where it was a co-production with Nick. We licensed the character of Jadoo from Mr. Rakesh Roshan from the movie Koi Mil Gaya, and did a live action animated blended series, and that itself this was in 2004, and it was a huge learning, just understanding what it takes to produce a show, and then obviously going with that to the international market. And I think that was our biggest learning, that, just producing a show is not enough. And if you want to distribute this show globally, you also have to understand the global market and what sells. And I think obviously the time then in 2004 and today, I think the opportunities are humongous. I think the landscape has changed tremendously. I think the world is a lot more open to Indian content. I believe the world is hungry for content which comes from India, because I think India is clearly on the map. Also, I think that when we continued, I think our approach was twofold. One is look at creating content for the domestic market, with the potential of exporting, and then look at content which is clearly meant for the global market, but with an Indian touch, So like we have a show which is called Krish Krish Balti Boy, which has been one of our passion projects. And the idea with that was to look at producing, something which would expose our children to our heritage, which is our art, our culture. India is, it's an amazing treasure trove of stories, art, music. And we thought, why not package this and present this to kids? And that kind of really opened up very interesting opportunities for us, So we actually initially, I think when we started out on this journey, back then most channels were very clear that we are predominantly looking at only dubbing content and not looking at original Indian IP, and it was a tough sell. But we took the plunge and we produced 2 movies on our own, in partnership with Children's Film Society, and decide to move ahead. And we launched Krish Krish Balti Boy. After having produced 2 movies, that's when the opportunities opened up. That's when we spoke to Cartoon Network, and they acquired the movies, and they did well. And then subsequently went on to produce 6 more movies, And then obviously with Krish Krish Balti Boy, we went global when Netflix acquired the movies, and then they in turn released it, with Turkish, Polish, Chinese, and Korean subtitles, So in a way, I think, to be honest, if I look at just the journey on Krish Krish Balti Boy, frankly, when we started out, I don't think that we thought that it might go to markets like Turkey, Poland, China in particular, and even Korea. But I think like Ashish rightly said, that OTT is really, really changing the game for a lot of us, because people are willing to sample more content, people are willing to experiment. And I think right now, clearly, as far as India is concerned, we are definitely on the map. The question really is, what is the kind of content I think that we want to create? Like we are currently, we're just kind of being greenlit on a major show, and I can't unfortunately share details. But again, it's been a journey on that show as well, because it has a very, very strong India connect, but it is meant for an international market. And as we are right now on the development on that show, and there is a strong push towards how can we pepper it more with Indian references, how can we bring in more of that, how do we expose people to that aspect of our culture, and I think that's where an opportunity lies for a lot of us. I mean, obviously Beam has clearly helped all of us in that sense, because it's definitely put India on the map, and people are now more open to sampling that content. But I think just working, I think one of the things that also what has helped us is working with international players, working with experienced producers who understand that game, who understand what is it to take your show to over 100 countries, what kind of things need to be weaved in right at the conception of the project. And then obviously distribution plays a much vital part. And I think that's one area that obviously I feel that we have a lot of catching up to do. So yeah, it's been a fascinating journey, so far, and I think I'm excited about the future as well. I think there are a lot of opportunities coming our way. I think it's a question of how ambitious we are.
Thank you, Munjal. Thank you very much. Rajiv, you had a roller coaster drive, very successful, fascinating journey. I'm sure that the audience wanted to hear your journey.
Yeah, thanks. Good morning, everyone. I think our industry itself has been fascinating, and I'm very glad that today we have a bunch of very, very successful producers and companies in India. I think till 2015, I think we were all kind of struggling in some way or the other because of certain limited opportunities that we had. So going back, I think what in kids content, I think one of the important years was year 2000, where we saw Cartoon Network launch in India. That was the first kids platform. And then we saw companies around 99, 2000, a lot of public limited companies or companies backed up with venture capital investments and all started. So that's where the kind of the industry, I mean, like there was Pentamedia, and then of course, a lot of other companies started around the same time. And we saw from there the kind of like birth of our industry. And then came, I think there were, all the studios had to decide between service jobs and IPs and stuff. While a lot of us decided to do both, I think everybody knew that we had to finally at some point produce our own IP content. And I think you guys, Jaykumar, I think you guys inspired us, and your show Tenali Raman on Cartoon Network. When I saw that first time, we all studied it. In fact, in our studio, we saw, I mean, how you design the characters and the layouts and stuff. I thought it was really fascinating. And then that was kind of, I mean, from day one as a company, we always wanted to produce original content. And of course, then we saw that, yeah, I mean, like, yes, we Indians can do it too. And that started the kind of IP producing thing. Then there was a few other shows on Indian domestic channels. Before we did our first show, Vikram Betal, in 2005, we launched our first show. And prior to that, we did a show called Bongo for Doordarshan back in 2004. A year before that, that was a hybrid show where animated characters and live action characters interacted. And it did pretty well. And but that was obviously not our goal. We wanted to focus on creating our own IPs. I started pitching Chota Bheem, but that was not being sold. In the meantime came Krishna 2D series. Of course, Ashish here has produced a 3D one, which is of world-class quality. We made a 2D movie series back in 2006 and 7, which again did very well in terms of ratings and stuff. And then we got a nod for Chota Bheem in 2008. It went on air. And that has been a game changer for our company, as well as I think local animation, because the success of that show proved to everyone that content in India can work, and Indian creators can produce, content that will connect with Indian audience. And that was the starting point. And from there, our industry took off. Then of course I'm glad, like we have so many other successful shows that came later on. And today, I mean, almost every kids channel, I think Ashish ji was fighting for that cause, that the channels that broadcast in India should produce, should have content made from India. And that today, I think Sony example, I think they're producing everything from India. I think, and then there are other channels, everyone at least has 4 hours of slots every day that they're producing for Indian market. So back then, I think when we started, the money is, of course, were very low, or I would say it would probably cover 20% of production costs. So finishing the production was a major challenge. And then that day we didn't have OTT players, but there was home video players. So home video kind of paid about 40% of the production cost. And in fact, they were paying higher than what TV channels were playing. And that became a critical component. And the home video continued to be in contention till like 2012-13, and when it slowly started to fade away, and before OTT came. So I think I've seen the channels grow from one channel in 2000 to 8, about 6 channels in 2008. Today, about 20 plus kids channels are there. I mean, and then you have regional kids channel, which are very important also. They keep encouraging local talent. The best part about this whole kids channel that are there in India is that they've taken the viewership of kids content from 1 or 2% to almost about 12-13%. And we need to understand this, that today 50% of television viewing audience is under the age of 14. But sadly, the content that is, only like 10% of the content is actually targeted towards them. And for the kids between 9 to 14, I don't think there is any content that is targeting specifically to that age group. And then again, there is this girl audience that is out there. And still, I mean, in 2020, we don't see girl content, I think, which is something that is very important, that India needs to create girl superheroes or girl characters and girl role models. I think we as a nation, our nation has always been led in one way or the other by women, and they've inspired us for generations. And I think it's time to give it back, and we produce characters and create role models. I think that will be very critical, this thing. And of course, when the time was right, we started focusing internationally besides just focusing on domestic content. And priorly, we were just focused on just IPs. And then in the last 3-4 years, we have realized that nowadays to keep your IP is going to be a major challenge. I think TV producers are very clear that, you come and pitch to us, but the IP will belong to us. If not, that's fine. We don't want your show. So it's pretty interesting the way things have changed. But what was savior is, like everybody else said, the OTT platforms. I think the OTT platforms are kind of a home video 5.0 advanced version, where people are able to watch certain things on their private time. And because of OTT, I think we now are able to cater to the needs of specific individuals, not just who is controlling the remote in TV homes. So I think with these kind of things, and again, sadly, India doesn't have a preschool show also produced for the Indian audience. I think these two, girl show, preschool show, then 9 to 14, these are major categories. We've still been producing content for 4 to 8 or 9. I think that is something that we will see change in the future. So our first preschool show, which is Mighty Little Beam, we are very happy that Netflix, it became India's first Netflix original for kids. And then it went on to be global #1 show on Netflix for preschool and #2 in kids and family category. And that is actually pretty huge. And we never expected that kind of a success for Mighty Little Beam, that it's going to be successful, equally successful in Latin America or Europe or Asia and North America. We never imagined that, but we're very, very glad. And so far, we have delivered 3 seasons of Mighty Little Beam, 2 already on air. Third one is going to come soon. And then we have produced some specials and continuing to make more content for them. And in the meantime, I'm very glad to say, as you all know, that in India we have been able to do a merchandise and licensing around the character of Chota Bheem, which we did pretty well. But I think now the challenge for us is how to do this globally. And it's not, I mean, today in times of COVID, now it's almost impossible to do that. But now we are on the verge of signing our first international toy deal for Mighty Little Beam. And we're very excited about that because I think this will probably become the first Indian character to ever be licensed outside of India. And so we're very excited. Overall, I think as a country, we have a very bright future. And I think thanks to people like you, Ashishji, Biren Ghosh, or Madhavan, and a lot of Munjal, all these guys who have led from the front from the beginning. And those were the tough times of our industry. I'm glad we are all still here. And I'm sure the next 20 years are going to be more amazing.
Thank you, Rajiv. Congratulations for all of your success. I agree with you. I think there'll be definitely a lot of opportunities in the girl segment, teen segment, preschool segment and all. Devadat, I think, you guys have recently gone to great success. So why don't you explain your journey?
Yes, thank you, sir. And hi, everyone. I'm very happy and excited to be on this panel. It's always great to have these kind of conversations around the industry because there is a lot of great movement happening in our industry. Speaking of the studio I represent one of the oldest companies in this business, and my experience personally is one of the smallest in this industry. My journey has been really fascinating because Maya's main journey really that we talk about right now from a global perspective really began in 2012. And I often say this to Rajiv, he kind of leads the way and then we kind of come in because after Chota Bheem, there was Motu Patlu that came in. So our international journey, since I'll try and skew a little bit more in that space, really began in 2014. What has been our philosophy? Somewhere we managed to cater to the local demand, the way the new platforms came in, the way we look at it, every new channel that came in after 2012, OTTs were like a new channel that came in the last, I think 4 years or so. We have been doing these dual deals in India. So suddenly India has become this dual market where you have a pay TV and an OTT. And we've done various combinations. We've done like Amazon plus Disney. We've done Disney plus Hotstar, or for that matter, Z5 in that sense. And there are a bunch of other exciting ones that we are working on at the moment. So this dual power of India has really fostered a big thing. I think OTT has given a big boost in that sense. When we started selling our content internationally in 2014, that journey began right off with Motu Patlu. Typically the geographies where Jaya sir, your shows, Munjal, you mentioned about Turkey and the kind of countries which were unheard of. Of course, Southeast Asia was the first logical market. I remember Tejo and I talking about it a couple of years ago at MIPCOM, the real MIPCOM. I don't know when will you see that again, and how these shows will kind of travel. So that has really changed now with the whole digital thing, and I'm very excited to announce on this panel right now. So one of our shows, which we produce for the Indian market with Disney as a primary broadcaster, called Leena Meena Dika, a non-dialogue comedy similar to Rat-a-Tat, what you have, Jaya sir, has become so big digitally that forget the OTT buyers and the pay TV platforms. We've actually, and we'll be announcing very soon, we're doing a co-production of that one where a chunk of the funding is actually coming from an international MCN. So that's again a different model because digital has really opened up these avenues for us. So today, when we say, when I began my journey in syndication and signing the first deal out of India, which I think for most of us was the Indonesian market, with that same buyer that I think all of us have dealt with as well. From there to now saying that, oh, our show is actually there in 100 countries. Inavidika helped us do that. And again, Mighty Little Beam has really created this very, very big thing for the industry. So Rajiv, congratulations and thank you on behalf of the industry to kind of, pave the way in this fashion. Because when I talk to buyers from like an HBO US or development executives out of LA for some of the development initiatives we are working on, Beam has become like this poster boy. So everybody kind of, recognizes the Indian industry internationally because of Beam. So he's kind of like what Mickey Mouse is to the global industry, he is to the Indian industry. He's a flag bearer in that sense. And there are more initiatives that we are also working towards in that space. There are a few announcements which we'll be making very soon. And I think what really distinguishes us as a market, as India as a market, which all of you guys have also spoken about, the beauty is that on one level, OTT is driving the SEC A plus kind of a growth. And on another level, this whole going local or rather hyper local, with now, Sony A kind of starting off this trend with 5 different languages. It's no longer just the 4 southern states. And I see Ashish sir smiling as well because our own mother tongue Marathi is also now Tejo as well, the legit language which is now happening. And I'll tell you this is a great trend. My own kids actually watch a lot of Sony A because it airs. So that whole hyper local thing is also helping the industry because we're growing in all directions. And as Rajiv rightly said, preschool, girl property, 9 to 14, these are great categories that have not opened up. So which also means that the great work that all of you guys, Ashish sir, Munjal, Jaya sir, at the outset you guys have done all these years ago. Ketan sir has done it from our end in that sense. We have the next 25 years to take that mantle forward. One very important trend which Tejo has really worked on my bandwagon now. So the way you guys have done Gulmaal and Little Singham, we've now got a show coming in that's inspired from Dabangg. And I'm very excited to say because this is also a big trend. We announced on Eid that we're launching a Dabangg series and we've already got good deals in the pay TV and in the OTT space already formed up in a span of 2 or 3 months of announcement, which we'll be announcing the partners soon. So there is growth coming in from all sides. Again, there are international inquiries on pre-sales because it's a Salman Khan-led property. So each IP is kind of, lending itself to that kind of a different, this thing. Today, when I say, when Motu Patlu has become like a pop culture phenomenon in India because of Madame Tussauds launches in India and the only animation show that has got a wax statue out there is Motu Patlu. So these, when we speak internationally, what happens is we Indians, we don't tend to kind of, celebrate our successes. We tend to take ourselves with, I think, a bucket load of salt because we're like, ye ho gaya. We don't really, you talk to any European and you say that, oh, our characters actually being waxed at Madame Tussauds at opened in India, like, oh my God, that's so huge. So that's like a plethora of sources. I mean, there is Bollywood in that sense. There are international collaborations that we've got. So that I think is really, it's a great industry to be in. I feel fortunate that I kind of joined this industry with the start of Motu Patlu. I didn't know the background before that. So I just feel very excited and exuberant about the whole industry. And I think we're here to rock and do some really great stuff as an industry. I thank the CII and all the organizers for these kind of initiatives because it's really pushing the mantle forward. The culture of animation is really set in. Today, we've got a couple of concepts in development for the family or adult audiences. I don't see why a Rick and Morty from India is not coming out in the next 5 years because I've got these 20-year-olds in my team who have grown up on animation the way we grew up on Hindi films in that sense. So that culture has come in. These kids are more adaptable to animation. So yes, we've got a very, very, very jumpy industry out there. And I'm very happy to be part of it as part of Cosmos Maya, which is kind of leading the trends in a lot of matters and learning from others. It's a great space to be in.
Thank you, Dev. Tejo, your turn.
Yeah, hi. So thank you, CII, for giving me this opportunity, and thank you all of you to having me in this panel. So after all the stalwarts have spoken, I think I have very limited things to say. But I would say our journey has been in 4 stages, if I have to put it rightly. We started in the first stage, we started like the industry started, we also started with the service work. And then slowly moving on to the second stage, where we started building our own domestic homegrown IPs, where we had this bunch of all characters which were already there and which were already established through mythology. We did Little Krishna and we did Krishna, Shaktiman. So we had all these characters which already which helped us to build IPs. Then in the third stage, we are building IPs for an international audience. We are still trying to build up IPs though. But as you know, India is still that way really, I wouldn't say weak, we are still growing, but in pre-production, we need to be really very strong to build international IPs. And that's where the stage we are right now, where we are catering to a TG of 6 to 12, maybe, as rightly said by Rajiv. And then there is the fourth stage where we are entering, where we really want to cater to a slightly mature target audience, which is 12 plus category. The matured audience would definitely be catered through OTT, and the doors of OTT are opening up right now. So we have a great way, and we have a great journey forward also. Though there are a couple of challenges which everybody is facing through, especially in this COVID times. But the key is going to be, how do you scale up those IPs? How do you really build those IPs which are relevant to the right target audience, target group that we are catering to? And yeah, patience is going to be the key in these times. So in short, this has been our journey. And so we are right now working on a couple of shows for a slightly matured audience, and we are trying to find the OTT platforms for those shows. But still, there is a long way, I guess, for the OTT platforms to open up doors for Indian IPs which can cater to that target group. Because there is no particular platform. So I'll give you an example where we tried reaching out to some of the OTT platforms, and with those IPs. And while we reached out to them, it was like it's a matured IP, so it's for a matured audience. Why don't we go to the live action? And while we had been to live action, then so we got an answer that this is an animation. We don't look at animation. So there is this, I would say, a gap which will slowly be bridged, where we will have opportunities coming up for this type of IPs. And we are right now between the stage 3 and stage 4, where we are trying to scale up the IPs, build up IPs for an international audience, and also build up IPs for a slightly matured target audience. As rightly said by Rajiv, Devdutt is the girl IP, then IP for a youth, where we have seen Japan doing most of these IPs in anime, and I think that's going to be the next big thing that is going to come up. And we are all as a team, I think we are all heading towards that.
Great, thank you, Tejo. I think we have limited time. I think it's great that we are able to, but I think if we can limit our responses in 2-3 minutes, we can ask a couple of more questions, probably that is more relevant to the audience. I wanted to ask a question. Probably we'll start with Tejo. I'm sorry, Tejo, we came to you at last, and probably we didn't have much to tell. So I'll start with you. The Indian stories and Indian content we were talking about, it actually started from Indian mythology. Whether it's Reliance or Toons, we all kind of heavily relied on Indian mythology. Do you think that this is an evergreen concept, or maybe even a safe area for content creation? Or should we be thinking of Indian stories from a different perspective? What are the kind of attributes you think, and the question is for all panelists, I think, that would be really now the new content creators from India should be looking for.
So we, as I said earlier also, we in stage 2, while we developed Indian IPs, so it was safe for us to actually hold on with the mythological characters that we had, because all those characters were already existing. It was existing in the minds of the viewers, and it was safe to play with those characters because Krishna is going to be Krishna, or Ram, and we have Arjun, and all these characters were already there. And at that point of time, we didn't had funds. This industry was actually in a very nascent stage. We could not build up those characters. Like in the West, they first build up those characters and then build up stories around that. So we were safe doing or playing with those characters. And now that it's growing, we still have more stories to tell in that sphere, in mythology. But yes, as others have said, I think we have a great scope of expanding that to other stories. We have more stories in India, living mythology. Yeah, I think we kind of should grow beyond mythology as well. But mythology is going to be the base for us.
Rajiv, your take? Thank you, Tejo.
Yeah, definitely, I think we need to do a mix of all kinds of shows. We definitely should not go away from our roots. So we have to do content which is based on our mythological characters or history, to go to great characters that are in history, or take story from the Indian tales, from there is huge collection out there, which are fantastic stories. And I think those all we definitely should tell. Same time, we have to tell contemporary stories. We don't want people think we can't do this thing. And plus, today's kids are not easy to please. So we need to tell stories that are going to be really engaging for them. I mean, once upon a time for kids, you could do simple linear storytelling. But today, it is not about linear storytelling at all. I mean, you have to mix it up for them. You have to give complexity, and you have to probably have a non-linear style of storytelling. And again, that's when you catch their attention. And then more importantly, you have to keep things cool for the kids, because if they don't think it is cool, they're going to lose interest in the show. So that's something which is very difficult to do, keep your animated characters cool. But yeah, one of the most important thing that we need, because the world has become smaller. I mean, now you're on an OTT platform, you have global access. So it's important to also keep in mind that a global audience is watching your content. So we need to make sure that your storytelling, your story can be local, but if you can tell it for a global audience, you will have a wider audience, which is much needed for our industry. So I think, yeah, that's where I stand.
Thank you. Dave.
So I agree with both Tejo and Rajiv in that sense. But purely from a mythology perspective, I think I'll give an example, because we've recently tasted success with mythology-inspired contemporary characters. We've come up with a show called Selfie with Bajrangi, where what we did is it's Hanuman only as Bajrangi, but he's invisible in the show. He's there, only visible to our main protagonist, Ankush, who's this boy who needs a kind of confidence boost. So when we talk about the international aspect of it, we actually tell people that Bajrangi is kind of like a metaphor for his inner faith, because only he can see it. And it's so using actually the stories from mythology, as Tejo was saying. So Bajrang Bali's ability to take different forms lends itself beautifully to animation. He can be like a tiny mosquito or like scale up in a big way. And that has really been successful for us, because now Disney's backing it up in a big way. We've recently done a deal for like a 234 half hours at one go with Disney Plus. And on another level, as Rajiv was saying, so we've launched a show called Bapu, which is doing well as well. So kids are really consuming really different stories. Inaminadika is like a Tom and Jerry inspired series. So I think what has worked, the Cosmos Maya success mantra, I'll say there are two things that we've really tried and that have worked. One is to keep trying. There are multiple pitches that keep on going. constantly, because there are so many, what do you say, consumers who've now opened up. So we need to have like a diversified IP slate. And two is bring in a sense of familiarity, whether we dip into a global storytelling or an Indian storytelling with a touch of novelty. So Bajrang Bali was a familiar thing. He's being invisible. The Mr. India kind of a story. Again, we've tapped into the Bollywood gene pool out there. So that really works. I think that's what we need to keep on trying.
That's very good, Dave. Ashish ji.
Well, I think, the strongest stories in the world stay, the weaker stories fade away. And I think, I don't call it mythology, I call it Indian heritage, because there is a connotation of mythology is much different than Indian heritage. These are all Indian heritage stories. And I think the reason why these stories stayed for more than 5,000, 7,000 years is because of the strength of the story. And I think that is something we need to tell very boldly. It's not that we are ashamed of telling it, and it wonders me why we are ashamed of telling it. But what is Avatar is a story of Ramayana and Mahabharata combined. Why the characters go blue. All these inspired by our own heritage stories, and when world is telling it in a magnanimous way, what's stopping us telling these stories? I think the complete stylization of India would define that. In the absence of big marketing budgets that Indians have, the safest bet is to carry best of the Indian heritage forward, because these are the characters which are known into the ecosystem of the generations of Indians. And secondly, the stories are so strong. So one of the right things that Cosmos Maya has done, and many people should look at, is take those stronger stories, put that into the contemporary format. You will always have a better story and a very strong story to tell to the world. So I think it's a big opportunity for Indians to dive deep into things. Otherwise, even if you see Indian cinema and Indian television is full of stories coming from heritage. The only caution that I would say is that there are certain kind of stories which can be fictionalized, and there are certain stories in our heritage which cannot be fictionalized. So you need to draw a line between what can be grown as a fiction and what can remain as the original story and stick to the original story. And that's why in Little Krishna, although there is a lot of pressure of making hundreds of stories and all, but they were not very interesting stories beyond what we had selected out of 27 stories. So you want to just extend the series and extend the series and extend the series. Fictionalizing it is not going to work. We'll have to stick to the original stories in that case. In many other stories out of heritage, it can go into the fiction area where you can actually make 200, 300, 700 episodes. And they should be attempted and told boldly. I don't see why not, because that's how it's coming from, the legacy of Indians. Most important point I want to make, Jay Kumar here, is that, we are always thinking about kids genre. And I think we have to graduate it to family entertainment to get bigger molas coming into our space. And I think some of these opportunities will bring us taking our stories into the family entertainment. No sooner you are in the family entertainment genre and the kids genre together, your complete dynamics of storytelling and the quality would improve drastically.
And Munjal?
Yeah. I think we've always believed in the power of Indian stories. And one of the things for us as a source of inspiration is the folk stories of India. And that's what we are trying to tell through the Krish Shish Balti Boy series, where we are basically taking folk stories from different parts of India. And, over the last 10 years, our research has kind of really opened our minds to, there's so much out there. I think there's so much richness in Indian content. The only thing I think is again, I think it's about contemporizing these stories. So when we look at these stories, I think we bring in, aspects or idioms which kids relate to today. I think that's a very, very important aspect. How do you make a story connect to kids today or the situations today? So we've done stories where we've contemporized them. I'll give an example. We did a story using Orisi Patachitra, about ghosts. And then the story starts off with someone talking about a mobile phone and an iPad, and again, so it's about bringing these kind of aspects which kids connect to today. Problem is, if your take is too classical, then sometimes you lose out on kids, so that's one. Again, another example that I would say is the show that we've done right now called Yom, which is on Disney and was on Netflix. So we looked at what is probably one of the most immediate thing that comes to our mind today when you look at India. One of the big aspects is yoga. So we said that when we look at superheroes, why not look at something which is an Indian superpower? I think there's no greater power than yoga. And I said that, how do you now give it a cool spin? How do you make that interesting? So we said that, okay, through yoga and through the use of animals, that all yoga poses are inspired from animals. So which means that here's a boy who basically performs a yoga pose and then he transforms into that animal, and through that we were able to say, okay, now that we have this, yoga has so many different animal poses. So which is that this boy doesn't become just one particular superpower, but he can call on any superpower of the different animals. So it's a very interesting spin. Again, like one of the other things that I felt is that if you look at just the superhero genre, I think one of the most interesting characters is Batman. Because there are limitations to his power. In fact, he has no power. It's just, and I always found that interesting, that the most interesting superheroes are also ones who have limitations on their power. So I think it's about that like what what Rajiv also said, that how do you make it interesting for kids today? You cannot have a very linear that, yes, he's all powerful, he's all important, he has a thing. Then what's the chink? What's the chink in your story? Or what's the chink in his armor? The other thing I would say that when you look at folk stories, one of the things that we've kind of consciously stayed away is the fact that when you talk about mythological stories, you have to be careful about religion. It's also because a lot of our mythology comes from religion, and you have two issues there. One is the fact that you cannot, mess around with that story, number one. Two is when you go to international markets, sometimes this content is perceived with a religious background. So I think fortunately we have so much in Indian mythology that we don't need to go in that space. I mean, Selfie with Bajrangi and such examples are great ways of reinterpreting that, and giving it a very contemporary spin, And I'm finding that there's an opportunity to tell different stories, and bringing our stories to the world, but in a fresh take.
Thank you, Munjal. I think we are almost there, probably 2-3 minutes. So I will ask a last question to all the panelists, but probably please take not more than a minute so that we can end it on time. I think, what would be your advice to independent creators and smaller studios about creating great IPs? Rajiv?
I think we need to come up, of course, understand what is the current market need, and your show has to be unique. I think it's very important that you are not going to be a wannabe show. Try not to do that. If it is unique, there is no show out there, then chances are that your show will succeed. And of course, pitch it well. You have to prepare for the pitches. That's the most important thing. And then, of course, spend the money on character design and backgrounds, and more importantly, a script writer, because script is the most important thing, be it whatever the genre of the content.
Tejo? Thank you, Rajiv.
I think the key is going to be understanding the TG for which the IP is being made, and how do you really scale it up to grow it bigger. These are the two key things, I would say.
Thank you. Munjal?
I think, my only suggestions to new creators, young creators, is that, create something new, create something different, create something wacky. I think we don't see enough wacky ideas coming from India. I think we tend to play safe. We tend to play with things we know. But I think animation as a medium gives you limitless potential. And again, I think eventually kids, or if you look at any kid brand or any animated brand, it's always about the character. If your character is excited, then I want to see what this character is up to, or what is he doing in a particular story. So I would say focus on different aspects of a character. Look at the character as a diamond. the more facets it has, that much it's going to shine.
Ashish ji, thank you. Thank you, Macha.
I think it's extremely important that the content creators or the character designers and the whole process is followed in a way that research is, according to me, the most important factor in designing any show. And more time you spend in research and the story would be great. I think if your story is great, your research is great, and you've been able to place that story with the right form, audience will lap it up any which way. So it's all about the story and the research and the character design that you can do.
Thank you, Ashish ji. Dave?
Well, I think I agree with everything that everyone else has said. So my answer is going to be very simple. In addition to whatever everyone else has said, I think for young creators, the message is stay true to the story that you're making, because yes, there are these market pressures that, oh, ye trend hai, so to do it like that, oh, it has to be unique as well. But so sometimes this is a dilemma that we face as a studio as well. We know that slapstick comedy works phenomenally well. We've done it with Motu Patlu or many other shows, but when we are making a Bapu, which is like a Gandhi coming in, like an interpretation of Gandhi coming in a 2020 scenario, there are because I sit with the creative team as well sometimes for discussions, and they're like, there are times when we know that this can make for a nice 1-minute gag in between, but the story, it's not endemic to the storyline of Bapu. So you know slapstick will work, you can put it in the story, but no, you have to take that decision. No, it can't go nowhere. Or for that matter, we've got another show called T2, which launched on Pogo a couple of weeks ago and is featured in the top show categories in the third week of launch. It's a boy who's like a little irreverent, oversmart kind of a boy. Kids find him extremely relatable. So we know that there's that line where he can just back answer his mother. And there's one very important gag, a very funny gag I want to talk about over here. So this is over smart, he's over intelligent, he back answers the mother, and as a parent I can relate to it. You want to just go and thwack the child at that time. You can't show it in animation. The way we've done it is that mother's face actually burns like a roasted, like an over roasted dish, which in animation conveys the emotion really well. And you have to find these newer ways, and kids also relate to it, because they know, my daughter will come and tell me, Papa, take a chill pill, you're just overreacting. So that a consumer insight, because animation gives us that beauty. You don't need the mother to kind of hit the child or whatever, but express her anger. So that uniqueness that we bring in. So stay true to what the show is, and everything else will just follow if the universe is defined. I hope I've not taken too long.
No. Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dave. With this, we come to the end of this panel discussion. I'm very thankful to my colleagues from the industry who have joined us today to provide their valuable insights. I believe we can all agree that the demand for Indian stories is only going to keep growing, and there is an entire treasure chest of ideas within this framework that we can explore. Also, if the story is treated right, there is a huge possibility that it would appeal to masses outside our subcontinent. There are multiple avenues for placing content and monetization opportunities today. We have also seen a significant advancement on technological advancement. This is also a huge boom. And we have all seen our industry has, kind of grown at 2-3 times higher than the GDP growth. While the pandemic has resulted in some serious struggles, I think it is essential to believe that we will overcome this and plan accordingly. Most importantly, these recent challenging times have definitely strengthened our spirit of collaboration and partnerships in this sector. And that is a trend I'm hoping will continue to the future too. It's not often that we are able to have this open exchange of thoughts and ideas on matters that affect our sector. And I'm also grateful to CII Summit FX for arranging this great event. Thank you all very much.
Yeah, Jay, there was one question on the chat, and I would like to quickly answer that. The comic content created by the local remote village, artist as an original content can definitely be taken up as Indian stories. And we get many pitches like this, and I'm creating an art village specially for these folk arts and also these comic arts from remote villages to be brought to the mainstream. One of such story is also created by Munjal, which is Krish Tish and Bartley Boy. Please have a look at that story, and it's a great opportunity that we can work with the village artists all the time to make it happen for the big screen.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Ashishji, for looking at that question from the guys. Thanks. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, so,
Thank
thanks
you.
so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you all the speakers.
Thank you all.
We are immensely honored and appreciative